Imagine living in a city where summer nights feel dangerous, where couples are afraid to sit in parked cars, where a single sound, gunfire, can turn a quiet street into a nightmare. That was New York City in the summer of 1976. This wasn't just a crime wave, it was terror with a name. Stay with me, because this story isn't only about a killer. It's about fear, media, and how an entire city can be psychologically hijacked. New York in the mid-1970s was already struggling. Crime was high. The city was broke. Trust in institutions was thin. Then the shootings began. Young couples sitting in cars late at night. Sudden gunfire. No warning. No robbery. Just chaos. At first, the attacks felt random. Different neighborhoods. Different victims. No clear connection. But the pattern quickly emerged. Same type of weapon. Same timing. Same cruelty. Someone was hunting couples and disappearing into the night. Then came the letters. Handwritten notes sent to police and newspapers. Rambling, angry, mocking. Signed with a name no one would forget, Son of Sam. The killer wasn't just committing murder, he was communicating. The letters taunted investigators, insulted police, and promised more blood. They turned every shooting into a spectacle, and the media took the bait. Headlines exploded. Fear multiplied. The killer became famous before he was caught. The city reacted instantly. Women cut their hair short, believing the killer targeted long-haired brunettes. Couples avoided cars. People armed themselves. New York didn't just feel unsafe, it felt watched. While millions were afraid, the man behind the gun was far less dramatic than the legend being built around him. Behind the name Son of Sam wasn't a demon, but a deeply disturbed man willing to let the city believe whatever it wanted. As the attacks continued, the killer learned something powerful. Fear spreads faster than bullets. Every headline amplified him. Every rumor added to the legend. The more the city talked, the bigger he became. This wasn't just murder anymore, it was performance. The letters grew more dramatic. He described himself as chosen, driven by forces beyond his control, something larger than a man. He mocked police efforts and laughed at the chaos he created. The words were designed to confuse, distract, and terrify, and they worked. Investigators struggled. There was no clear suspect, no strong forensic trail, no reliable witnesses. Sketches changed. Theories shifted. Panic filled the gaps where evidence should have been. In that confusion, the myth of the Son of Sam took shape. A supernatural killer, a mad prophet, an unstoppable force. Meanwhile, the man behind the gun watched the fear unfold. He felt important, and that feeling mattered more than anything else. Each attack fed the story, and each story fed the killer. As pressure mounted, the violence escalated, not because he was losing control, but because the attention was working. By early 1977, New York City was living on nerves. Every shooting added another layer of fear. Every night felt like a gamble. Every parked car looked suspicious. The victims followed the same haunting pattern. Young couples, quiet moments, sudden violence. The killer approached calmly, fired quickly, and vanished. Some survived. Others didn't. With every attack, the city grew more desperate. Police were overwhelmed. Thousands of tips poured in. Psychics were consulted. Task forces expanded. Nothing stuck. The killer seemed to strike across boroughs at will, leaving investigators chasing shadows. Fear reshaped daily life. Nighttime dates disappeared. Clubs entered early. Cars stayed locked. Women changed their appearance. Men carried weapons. The Son of Sam wasn't just killing people, he was controlling behavior. The chaos peaked in July 1977. Another attack. Another death. But this time, something changed. Witnesses noticed details that didn't vanish into panic. A man arguing near the scene. A car parked illegally. One witness wrote down a license plate. That single decision cracked the nightmare open. Police traced the car to a quiet postal worker from Yonkers named David Berkowitz. Not a mastermind. Not a supernatural force. Just a man living alone, blending into routine. When investigators searched his apartment, the myth collapsed instantly. Weapons. A map of crime scenes. Notes tied to the letters. The legend didn't fade, it shattered. Berkowitz was arrested without resistance. No chase. No dramatic ending. Just an ordinary-looking man. When he confessed, the truth was even more unsettling. The son of Sam wasn't a demon. He wasn't possessed. He wasn't chosen. He was isolated, deeply disturbed, and desperate for meaning and attention. The supernatural story was a lie he encouraged because it made him feel powerful. Once Berkowitz was in custody, the city exhaled. The shooting stopped. Fear loosened its grip. But relief gave way to discomfort. In court, Berkowitz pleaded guilty to all the shootings. No grand defense. No supernatural claims. The son of Sam was never real. It was a character. He was sentenced to life in prison. No death penalty. No punishment that matched the fear he created. Families were shattered. Survivors carried trauma for life. And the city learned how easily fear could be amplified by media attention. Years later, Berkowitz admitted something chilling. The attention mattered more than the violence. Being seen, being feared, that was the reward. Because true crime isn't just about who pulled the trigger. It's about how stories give power to people who should never have it.